Hi, welcome back to Manual Motion. I'm Evan.
And I'm Dom.
And today we're going to take this Corvette ZR1 Blue Devil to Cars and Coffee. Let's go. But first, let Dom tell us the stats.
All right, so it is 620 horsepower, 595 pound-feet of torque from a 6.2 liter supercharged V8 mated to a 6-speed manual.
That's a thing of beauty. We love our V8 manuals and Manual Motion.
Of course.
And man, what a cool vehicle today. I love the color of this thing. What a showstopper this thing is. Like, it's an incredibly well-kept example of this. Yeah. And we're very excited to take it.
These rims are so chrome.
The chrome.
Look at it.
The boom. The carbon fiber.
Boom.
The super. You can see the engine through the hood. Oh,
so sick.
This
is a plastic and carbon fiber beast.
Yep, and we're going to drive it. So
yep.
We're going to New Canaan's Cars and Coffee today, and let's start getting out of here. All right, we are in the C6 ZR1
Blue Devil.
And what an interesting interior. This thing is it's definitely not as bad as I thought.
Yeah, it looks a little bit newer than it should. Yeah, does that make sense?
Got some stitching on the sides. Yeah. Pretty cool. The steering wheel is kind of fun. It's nice and thin. I thought it would be bigger, like almost like a BMW steering wheel.
Yeah.
But it is quite nice. It's got really good visibility to the gauge cluster as well, and it's really nice and vibrant and clear. I like that a lot. We got the trick kind of nav system. We got the buttons for the doors.
Door buttons.
Which
are weirdly staggered. So mine is like an actual door grip with the button on my thumb right here.
Yeah.
And then his is
like on the side.
Because I assume they had to make room for the mirror and window controls.
That might be it. But like, it's definitely interesting to see. You don't see asymmetrical doors all that often.
Except in Ferraris and Corvettes, apparently.
Guess so. And yeah, definitely a cool. And we also have like this kind of felt, like it's not felt, but like
it's like a mesh-ish.
A mesh kind of roof. It's carbon fiber roof. Really lightweight. That's good for performance.
Yep.
And speaking of that performance, I think we got to start it up.
Definitely.
Yeah. To start it up, it's a bit interesting. Excuse me as I move my seat. The actual start-stop button is a bit interesting. It looks aftermarket, as you were saying.
Yeah, it looks like an aftermarket toggle switch that you got on eBay that was really cheap.
Yeah.
And I'm genuinely surprised that more GM vehicles didn't have this, and it was just the Corvettes.
But yeah, to start it up, you have to push the top part of this, and turn it off, you push the bottom. So it's kind of an interesting, weird toggle type situation.
Yeah.
But I think we'll end up using it. So we gotta.
We should, right?
We should.
Yeah.
We love a good V8.
Yeah.
On our channel.
It definitely.
It sounds pretty good.
I think we need to hear it a little bit more. Personally, we got to make sure that the handbrake, my handbrake.
Oh, it's on your side, right? It's not mine.
No, it's not his.
Why is it so far over?
You almost forget about it because it's so far over.
So, but it is warm. We've been driving it, so the whole car just shook. Man, I'm excited to drive this thing. Let's get out on the road. All right, so we're in the Blue Devil.
Devils.
Yeah. As Putty would say.
Putty. We love Putty.
Feels like an Arby's knife. I feel like that might have been a good impression, or I will cut that out.
Yeah.
And so
we should leave it in, and it would be funny.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah.
We're leaving Cars and Coffee right now.
Yep.
We'll talk about that later. But we are driving the ZR1 and stop sign pulling away. This car is interesting to say the least. I've never driven a Corvette before. No generation. This is my first Corvette I've ever driven. And I feel like I'm going in fully in the deep end here.
Oh, yeah. Well, so if you think about it, this is the C6 generation, the craziest C6, and besides that, the only thing crazier would be a crazy C7, because this is faster than the regular C7, or a C8, which we cannot get our hands on.
Right. So I think it's definitely wild. And immediately off the bat, and this is something that I noticed on the way to Cars and Coffee this morning, is the steering is super light. Apparently most Corvettes are like that, so I've heard.
Yeah. So I used to pull cars around like lots and everything. I kind of volunteered where that was popular, and I've pulled around C2s, C4s, C5s, even C6s. Basically everything except a C8 and a C1. And Corvettes have very light steering, and it's very difficult on center, which I think you mentioned too. But once you kind of start turning, you get a little bit more of a feeling.
So here we go. We're doing a turning right now at just kind of the speed limit and around a brisk pace, and it does tighten up. I feel like what saves this car, and what's really impressive, and what I didn't know this car could do, is handle pretty well. And because this car has a pretty trick suspension. It's got Magna Ride, right?
Yes.
So we're actually running on like a suspension that adjusts as we're going, and so it's pretty loose around like town where the bumps are pretty rough. It's not like comfortable, I would say.
It's not the best suspension. I mean, the new Magna Ride in all the Ferraris and all the new Cadillacs and Chevys, much better because it is newer. But this is, I think, second generation Magna Ride, and I could be wrong about that, but it's good. Like,
I think it's pretty good. I would say, I mean, like, we also are spoiled. We just jumped out of a new Ferrari. Watch that video if you haven't already.
Exactly.
And so to go from that to this is a bit interesting because it's not as comfortable, which is weird to say. But what it is a little bit more visceral.
Crazy.
And you have this huge sound. Even like the Ferrari V8 wasn't as menacing. Oh my god.
It wasn't as knock your socks off and make you hide in a corner.
Yeah. And but the braking is a little bit loose. It doesn't feel that confidence inspiring, but then I'm putting like half throttle into it, and it's
that just feels more raw than the Pista.
It does.
And this is probably one of the oldest kind of raw cars we've had. We've driven the RS4, which was more comfort and sport based. This is just a sports car. It's got, as I mentioned in the intro, 620 horse, and it is fast. Yeah. And it's light.
It is scary fast.
One of the difference between the Blue Devil ZR1 and the regular ZR1 is the amount of carbon fiber.
It's everywhere.
You can't see it because the normal ZR1s have interior carbon fiber, yada yada yada.
What do you mean? We have the entire center console is carbon fiber in this car.
Yeah, but the ZR1 was too. It was an option. On the ZR1, it comes standard with the Blue Devil, and the hood, different body panels are carbon fiber. It's lighter and stronger.
One thing I didn't expect out of this car too is a really tight shift lever. So you have a really weird shaped one. It's kind of oblong, a bit asymmetrical, but what it doesn't have in style, it makes up for in feel because it's really notchy. The crossgate has got to be, which is like the distance between gears laterally, like left to right, is super short. So you can really like pop it into gear and it will go. I don't know if it's my favorite one I've ever felt. It's definitely not as tactile as, say, the Porsche GT3 we drove. Also watch that video if you haven't.
Yeah.
But this is definitely surprising, and the clutch is really positive as well. I like that too.
Yeah, one of the things I do like about the shifter is it reminds me of those old pistol grip shifters on like the Barracudas, the Hemi Challengers,
right.
All of that, where it's just like 1, 2, 3, and just like you're muscling it into gear. It feels very American. Instead of Porsche, where it's like precision shift, all about speed, all about track times. This is just, in my opinion, this car's just about having fun and messing around. It's a very boyish young car, or if you're a 90-year-old man from Florida, or an astronaut. Astronauts drove these things. Remember that.
But yeah, what this is really known for is from the Top Gear episode where we have, the R8 versus this, and Jeremy Clarkson prefers this because he says it's worse, and it in like a lot of ways is, but it does feel more playful, and it's really not that bad. I mean, like in terms of dynamics, it's better than I would have expected. Yeah,
and because everything about the R8 is like Audi is precision, comfort, luxury. It's a baby Gallardo. It's like, and then this comes in with your cowboy hat, your boots,
right,
and you're doing donuts in an intersection, Meanwhile, the R8 is like snobby and mad at you.
One of the things that's really interesting too is I first got in here, and probably my least favorite thing about it, which is the seating position. And I'm not used to American cars that are performance cars, so it's hard for me to judge. But I feel like I'm sitting on top of the seats. I feel like I'm sitting really high up, which is also, I mean, partly because the seats are just big. The seats are actually really heavily cushioned.
Yeah.
So we have like a really comfortable seat with no side bolstering whatsoever, even though it probably could use it, and just pretty decent lack of performance feel in the seats, but comfort instead.
Yeah. What a lot of people do once they get these things, and it's not a extremely low mileage perfect example, is they do the seats, but what that ends up doing when you sit lower, you can't see.
Yeah. So
one of the reasons why the seating position is high, at least what makes sense to me, is this bulge in the hood is huge because the supercharger is literally sticking out of it.
Right.
And
speaking of superchargers, hold on. Listen.
It does it so casually. It's very
I'm not really
easy
jumping on it. It's smooth. I think it's all superchargers though. They really have a good linear feel. They sound good because you can hear the whine pretty distinctly in this car, which I like.
One thing that we got in this, and not the Porsche, the screen flips out to reveal a DVD and CD player.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Because that's awesome.
This thing has some, off of that point, this thing has a lot of tech in it. It's got a heads-up display. We have that trick suspension like we mentioned before. It's got, in the heads-up display, I can see the amount of G-forces I'm pulling through corners, which is so cool. Like, I don't even know of any other car I've seen that allows that to be seen through there. Yeah. But it's so cool. And then we have, like the screen's really nice. We have, like, obviously modern air conditioning and things. We don't have a backup camera, which I would kind of prefer because visibility in this car is terrible.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's worse than pretty much any other car I've driven recently.
Yeah, the back is sloped to the point where, I'm sure you can see this on the camera, this much space.
Yeah.
It's not great, but it's a Corvette.
Yeah, so we don't have very good visibility. We do have good practicality though, a little bit. We have the rear glass lifts up, and you can store things back there. Yeah. It's kind of almost like some sort of Targa, where you have the back lift out. The interior space is also not terrible. We have we have cup holders. We have some center console here. Oh, it opens one side. Does it open both sides? No, it's one side. And so we have that going on.
We have a glove box.
I actually have a glove box in this. So you have a little bit of interior space. Obviously, this is definitely not something you want to daily, especially this one. This has really low miles. And so to kind of daily wouldn't make any sense, but definitely could drive it long distances. So yeah, so that's the Blue Devil. Definitely a cool experience. So yeah. We're gonna go to what we saw at Cars and Coffee. A couple cool things showed up. We'll show you that now and close out the video.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
All stock.
Very nice.
another trip to Cars and Coffee. Thanks for joining us. This was a blast. It was such a cool car.
It really was. And thank you so much to the owner for giving me this car for free.
No.
For free.
No. Get back here.
No.
Get back over here.
I want it.
Get in frame.
Sorry.
So you have to deal with.
So thank you so much to the owner.
Who's not him.
Sadly.
One day.
Anyways.
One day, bud.
Thank you for letting us drive it.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching Manual Motion.
Watching Manual Motion. Subscribe. Yeah. Like the video. Leave comments what cars you want to see next.
More Corvettes, please.
More Corvettes.
More American stuff, please.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I like that.
I like that.
That was good.